Hi, I'm Mike Newman. Good to be back with you. I've written a book called Hope When Your Heart Breaks, Navigating Grief and Loss. And some folks have asked me, how can you write about heartbreak in such a way where it really reaches me? It sounds like you really understand. Well, heartbreak intruded into my life early on when I was a kid, just about 9 years old. My grandfather was shot and killed when a robber burst into his store one spring day. He had a dry cleaners in the city of Chicago, and he shot him in the chest. My grandfather dropped to the floor bleeding. Of course, the robbers fled. First responders were called. He was rushed to the hospital, and he did not survive. You can imagine what it felt like when we got the phone call that he was shot. This day and age, with all the shootings going on with Sutherland Springs, Las Vegas, there's a huge list. There are more and more people who understand what it's like to have a loved one taken from you in a violent way. I get that. I get the hurt. I get the terrifying thoughts of if the person experienced pain or fear or what they were going through in their last moments. So I can resonate to some deep loss and some deeply heartbreaking news. In addition, it didn't stop there. When I was in college, my favorite cousin, Terry, was also shot and killed in a terrible, violent way at close range by a drug dealer, actually. She and her fiance were killed together. My aunt found them. That's the kind of thing that does not go away. It abides deep in your heart and soul. It's something that can actually crush you. And so the question is, how in the world do you find release from that prison? How do you get through something like that? Well, that's where God's word has spoken to me in Isaiah 61, and Jesus quoted this later. He said that he came to bind up the brokenhearted, to free those who are in prison from the captivity of grief and pain. That's what I've experienced through my life. God has freed me from the fear, from the hurt, the pain. It doesn't go away right away. It's always there a little bit. But the only way to have freedom, the only way to have your heart bound up again and healed is because Jesus is the one who can do it. He can overcome all odds. It's interesting. Sometimes even your grief becomes God's call to bless others. In 1991, when I was a pastor in Palatine, Illinois, a devastating event took place there when 7 people were shot and killed in a store robbery just around the corner from our church. We knew families. We knew some of the kids who were in high school. And the violence I experienced as a kid prepared me to help serve those who were going through that heartbreak for the very first time. And I was able to bring them a word of hope from the one who can bring you through the valley of the shadow of death. So I have hope in heartbreak, even the most devastating. I get it. You get it too. I hope you also receive the hope in Jesus. I'll talk to you next time.